Good afternoon. The past story about Rabbi Kaufman is important on many levels. Number one, it's important to know that our actions regarding others have great effect, not just upon the other person, but upon ourselves as well. Disappointing, injuring, hurting someone that we care about can cause not just great loss, but we remain tied to that person and that person's anger long after the events took place, unless we ask forgiveness. Then, of course, there's a second element, that this girl who was angry at Rabbi Kaufman, she could not get married, she could not find her bashert until she got rid of her anger. Because when you're angry at someone, yes, you can have an effect on him or her, but you're tied to that person. And because you're tied to that person, you can't go on and help yourself in dealing with the things that you have to go on to do. As long as this girl was attached to Rabbi Kaufman through her anger, she could not become attached to anyone else, and therefore she wasn't finding a proper chassan. Once her anger was gone, immediately she could find her chassan and get married. So that's the double-edged sword of human emotion. If you hurt someone, you owe that person, and that person has power over you, because that anger prevents you from going further. But by being angry at another person, the person who's angry is also tied and can't go on. And so therefore, for the benefit of both people, forgiveness has to be asked and forgiveness has to be given. Another important lesson of that powerful story is, no matter how well-meaningful you are, no matter how pure your motive, you have to always look at your activities from the perspective of the person that you're dealing with. I may want to teach. You may want to learn. But I have to be sensitive to what it is that you want to learn, that you want to learn from me. If what I'm saying means nothing to you, then I'm wasting my time and yours. I have to be sensitive to your needs, not to my desires, even if they may be highly motivated. Rabbi Kaufman wanted to impart Torah on the highest level, but in doing so, forgot that there's someone who is listening who wants to get something from an easier method, from a more attractive method, and that is through the telling of stories. And sometimes it's important to understand that you have to deal with the person as the person is. Sometimes we're not ready to accept ideas. We are ready to accept a story that's entertaining, that has a moral. And so the Rebbe was teaching Rabbi Kaufman, you must always look for what the recipient wants and what's best for the recipient, not what's best for you or what you think is best. The same thing is true regarding how you treat your wife. Make sure that she doesn't get hurt by doctors, The same thing is true regarding students, that you should teach them not just what you want to teach them, but what they want to learn and what would make a difference in their lives. And that's why when you tell someone something's not going to work out, you can't just leave it, well, it's not for the best and we just have to leave it. You have to console the person and comfort the person. And that's why he had to ask her for forgiveness, despite the fact that it would not have worked out. No question that if two people have different ideals and they're motivated to attaining spiritual levels using different paths, then the marriage isn't going to work out. But you still have to deal with the person's emotions. You can't just say, I decided or I figured it out. Then it's best for you, but not best for the other person. So the lesson learned, another lesson learned in that story, is how important it is to realize that the recipient has to be honored, that the needs of the recipient have to be taken into consideration, and that sometimes it's more effective by taking into consideration what the recipient wants, not what you want to give the recipient. And finally, in these videos I've had some detractors, some who are fair-minded, some who are intelligent, and some who are not only unintelligent, but far from being noble of character. I don't want to go ahead and try to change their minds, because their minds are set. They've been poisoned by certainly some well-meaning people, but their minds have been poisoned. This story I heard twice verbatim from Rabbi Kaufman. He merited to have children through a blessing of the Rebbe, through the Rebbe's intervention. Period. He also was made into a phenomenal storyteller by the Rebbe's intervention, and a much better human being as a result of that audience with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Rebbe not only did a miracle for him, the Rebbe also directed him on a pathway to influencing many, many, many more people. Those who deny the greatness of the Rebbe, in the world of truth, they won't be able to hide. But there is what is called Alma de Shikra. Alma de Shikra, the world of falsehood, is not just the physical world of pleasure, but the world of false standardization, where people are assumed to be something that they're not, based upon ideology. Just because you don't understand somebody's ideology does not diminish that person's greatness. The people who've never seen the Rebbe cannot make any statement, or cannot go ahead and try to evaluate anything. The Rebbe sent out thousands of his cherished students into places of danger. A couple of them lost their lives on shlichus a few years ago. And the purpose of sending them out on shlichus was not for their own benefit, and it was not for their own entertainment, and it was not for their own wealth, but to bring Yiddishkeit and Chassidus to the whole world, to those people who are in those remote areas. And in that part he was successful, and he showed other people how to be successful. The fact that there are other curative organizations doing a wonderful job, much of that success comes from the example of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And instead of negating, bad-mouthing, show an appreciation. Be honest. And don't talk about things that you don't know about. The Rebbe was a man of the Himlan, man of the heavens. And we are men of the flesh. We are simple, humble people. I had the merit of seeing the Rebbe. I had the merit of seeing miracles come from him. And I had the merit of hearing many of the things that he said. And this story is just one of thousands of stories of the incredible Ruach HaKodesh, divine knowledge that he had, and the advice that he had, and how he shaped the lives of people, even people who weren't his chassidim. And that's why this story is so important.